Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Command Point. My name's Ryan. Today I'm here with Shane.
Hello.
And today we're going to be going through some of our favorite ploys in the new edition of Kill Team. So, Shane, do you want to start us off here?
Sure. I mean, there's like so many ploys.
There are so many.
Every faction has like 6 of them. But there's definitely some that are notably better than others, and there's a lot of really strong ones. So I'll start with one that we talked about very recently on the Harlequin deep dive. If you haven't listened to that, go check it out. I'm referring, of course, to Domino Field. And basically, I mean, what Domino Field does is it kind of makes Harlequins so much more of a threat, like on its own. So until the end of the turning point, while a friendly troop operative that has not made a shooting attack during the turning point is within triangle or 1 inch of a terrain feature that provides cover, enemy operatives always treat it as having a conceal order regardless of any other rules. Basically, if you're in cover and you haven't shot yet, then you have a conceal and you can't be shot unless they're within 2 inches of you, in which case you aren't in cover. So yeah, I mean, this means you can be engaged and be considered concealed for when you're getting shot at or targeted. It negates vantage points and marker lights, and it just says, no, you can't shoot me. And that's really strong.
One that I have here is DAKKA. So this is a strategic ploy shared by both the Greenskins and the Commandos. Basically, the way it works is whenever you retain a critical hit, when making an attack with a ranged weapon, a shooting attack, it changes a failed hit to a normal hit. It's a strategic ploy, so it affects everybody in your kill team who's going to be making shooting attacks that turn, and it just increases that the reliability of the shooting across the board, and that is definitely something that Orc players should lean into.
Yeah, I mean, that play is so good that it takes a team that hits on 5s in shooting and makes them a good shooting team.
Yep.
I mean, I think anything that changes a fail into a success is kind of immediately really good.
Yeah, and when you're talking about one thing making multiple fails, multiple successes, it really pays for itself.
Especially with the way that, like, Greenskin specifically, they have lots of weapons available to them that are 5 shots that hit really hard, but the only downside is that you hit on 5s. So DAKKA really makes up for that weakness and makes them a pretty good shooting team.
Yep.
My next one is a ploy that the Trader Space Marines got called Let the Galaxy Burn. And this is a strategic ploy, and it's one of my favorite in the game. So it's 1 CP. Until the end of the turning point, each time a friendly Heretic Astartes operative is activated, once during that activation, and the roll attack dice step of a combat or shooting attack, if it is targeting the closest valid target, you can retain one of your attack dice results of a 5-up as a successful hit as a critical hit. And then if you have like lethal 5, then Let the Galaxy Burn applies on a 4. So you can get lethal 5 on basically all of your weapons for a turn. And like your power weapon, that gets lethal 4. I think in general, being able, especially with shooting, but just in general, more access to crits is huge.
Yeah.
And Let the Galaxy Burn gets you a lot of crits.
So the next one that I have on my list here is Bolter Discipline. So this is something that Marines and Grey Knights have access to, but similarly, the Trader Marines also have access to this stratagem, but it's under a different name, Malicious Volleys. So the gist of this one is, if an operative does not fight, they can instead perform 2 shooting actions as long as they are shooting with bolt weapons. Yeah, just being able to double the amount of shots that you're putting out across your entire kill team, this being a strategic ploy, very, very good. As most of these teams only have anywhere between 5 and 6 models, you need it. You need it if you want to stand a chance, honestly.
Yeah, and it's a lot better than fighting twice, because a lot of these factions also have the option to fight twice for a CP instead. But shooting twice is just so much better, I think, a lot of the time. Even if you're, like, Even if I'm playing like assault intercessors, I think I'd rather shoot twice most of the time than fight twice. Like Grey Knights, they completely depend on it. Like it's their whole thing is
Yeah.
using Bolter Discipline. So my next one is, I mean, we keep talking about orcs, but this one, it's called Just a Scratch. Although Ecclesiarchy also has access to the same ploy under the
Yeah.
name, I believe, Divine Intervention.
Yeah.
And this might be, I mean, we've called it the Death Denied of Kill Team 2. And I think that's pretty apt description. 1 CP, it's a tactical ploy. And when an enemy model inflicts damage upon you with an attack dice, you use Just a Scratch or Divine Intervention, and you just flat out ignore the entire damage dice. This is like let's say you charge an orc and you hit them and they pop Just a Scratch. Suddenly it's like they're charging you because they basically get to fight first. It can save a model's life. You can stop upwards of like 6 to 7 damage on a model this way. It just makes dealing with these factions way harder.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's good enough that Orc and Ecclesiarchy players are going to be using it just about every turn. You'll always be saving a CP for this, and even into the later stages of the game.
Yeah, because
So,
I mean, this stratagem, it can be game winning for you. If you have a model on a point or on an objective or performing an action or whatever, scoring you points, or you're setting up to do that, and you need that model to live, if your opponent rolls good enough to kill it, you can just take away one of those damage die and just have it live.
Yeah, and you're going to run into situations where, like, you know, when you see a model and it's like it's got like 3 wounds left and you're like, oh, I'll just charge it, and as long as I get 1 hit when I fight, I'll kill it.
Yeah.
A lot of the time you might run up to an orc and do that, forgetting about Just a Scratch, and then they'll do it, and then they'll kill you, and it's just like craziness.
Yeah.
It wastes an attack die. It kind of shifts the whole momentum of the combat or whatever, and yeah, it's really strong.
So my next one here is another strategic ploy. We have got Agile Gladiators, and this one works specifically with the Kamarite Witches. The first part of this is each time an opponent strikes with a normal hit in combat, roll a d6, and on a 4-up, you treat that strike as a parry instead. And then there's a few other bullet points that give some movement buffs to the witches, which are really nice to have. But like this is the main part of this stratagem, or excuse me, of this ploy.
You use it every turn, pretty much, and that's how that's a telltale sign.
Literally every turn. Yeah.
Yeah.
It nerfs your close combat, or excuse me, it nerfs your opponent's close combat oriented operatives, efficiency in close combat, or at least it has a decent chance to. So it just works. I mean, there's going to be instances where a model charges your witch, and the witch has no business surviving just with the stat line by itself. Once you use this strategic ploy with them, though, they become, very challenging to get rid of in close combat.
It creates a lot of problems when you need to make sure that you're critting them if you want to do damage.
Yep.
And a lot of the time you're going to have to use a normal hit. Whenever you hit them, there's just a 50-50 chance that you just don't. I mean, that's really good. And even if you don't have any hits left for them to parry, they still count as they parry, and that's it. Like, even if there's nothing to parry.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And it works against brutal. I guess it doesn't work against brutal. Even if you have brutal, they parry your brutal hit, but still, it's just so strong.
Yeah. It's not like you're designating one of your attacks in order for them to have to parry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just you're still maintaining your base amount of attacks, but you're just throwing your opponent's dice out the window basically. It's a great ploy.
Yeah. And then my last one here is called A Worthy Cause. So this is a brand new ploy from the new Pathfinder team out of the Chelneth box, and if you guys have been following the new releases at all, you've probably heard of this ploy. It is insane. It's like game breaking. 1 CP tactical ploy. Use this tactical ploy at the start of the firefight phase. Select 1 friendly Pathfinder operative, excluding a drone. that is within 3 inches of any enemy operatives or within 2 inches of the center of an objective marker and activate it. Once that operative has completed its activation, the player who has the initiative activates an operative as normal. So there's a lot there, but what this lets you do basically is just get an activation in before, like regardless whether you lost initiative or won it, you just get an extra activation before anything else happens. Even if you're ignoring like the possibility of like the quad activation where you can activate one guy that lets another guy go after and then again after that, which is possible. So like activating 3 or 4 guys before your opponent gets to go at all. But even without that, like let's say like you have like 13 models with Pathfinders, so you're probably going to get the last activation in a turn. So let's say you save like your Grenadier until the very end with like the fusion grenade, and you run them up within 6 inches with a move dash of an opponent. The next turn, you don't have to hope you get initiative. Like even if you lose initiative, you just spend 1 CP on a worthy cause and throw a grenade, and there's nothing your opponent can do about it. And this is another one kind of where you use it like every turn. Maybe not the first turn, but almost every turn.
All right, so my last one that I have here, not as crazy as the Pathfinder's ploy, and actually this one got nerfed recently. So this is a tactical ploy for the Custodes, or the Talons of the Emperor, I should say, Brotherhood of Demigods. So this got changed to be worded as, at the end of the firefight phase, you select a Custodes operative to perform 1 free fight or Overwatch action. So this is, I love this ploy still. It used to be open-ended as to what action you used to be able to perform, which was like crazy. And definitely contributed to the Custodes' early dominance in the kill team competitive meta. But now the 1 free fight action, I think it's okay. You know, if for whatever reason a Custodes Custodian guard charges something and doesn't kill it immediately in that combat, that free fight phase at the end of the at the end of the firefight phase is good. But I love the Overwatch action, the free Overwatch action you get to perform here, because there are so many times where I've been playing games against like you, Shane, like other good competitive kill team players, where they will move their models in such a way as to make it so that I'm not going to get any Overwatch shots. That usually comes about where it's like, okay, it's my opponent's, I've already moved all my models, performed all my actions. My opponent has 1 model left to move and do actions with, whatever, and then they do that, and then that's it. That's end of the round. So even if that model is out in the open in line of sight of one of my models, they're not going to be able to shoot Overwatch against it, even though I'm outnumbered. This circumvents that. This allows me to perform that Overwatch action and shoot that model who is run up, exposing himself to capture that point.
Yeah, I mean, it used to just be like bonkers.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't even at the end of the firefight phase before. It was either end of the firefight phase or after any activation. They've definitely toned it down a lot, but I still agree that it's a very strong ploy, even still. And I think it's crucial for Custodes.
Well, all right, guys, that does it for this video. Thank you all for watching, especially to our patrons who are over supporting our channel on Patreon. We very much appreciate your support there. If you guys like the content that we're doing here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that like button too to let us know. We will see you all again in the next one.